See, in my experience, and after pouring through the data, one thing has become crystal clear. The fourth quarter acts as an amplifier to the previous 9 months. The brands that have struggled for 3 quarters really need to prepare themselves for what's ahead, because historical data shows that the fourth quarter could even be harder and bloodier for you than the rest of the year has been. Welcome to Triple Whale's 10 Tactics to Master Before Q4. I'm Nate Lagos, and over the next few weeks, I'm going to guide you through 10 key initiatives, tactics, and strategies for you to work on in order to maximize this holiday shopping season. We'll look at data from all the brands using Triple Whale, so we can look at accurate trends, benchmarks, and we'll bring on some amazing guests for open and detailed conversations. And by the end of episode 10, you'll be fully prepared to have your biggest and best Q4 ever. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Nate Lagos, and I'm so honored that Triple Whale has trusted me to deliver this message to you all. I've worked in the world of e-commerce marketing for 10 years now. I started in college as a freelance social media manager and quickly learned that there was a lot more money in running paid ads, so I taught myself how to do that. And as I grew in my career, became a marketing director and a chief marketing officer, and I currently serve as the VP of marketing for a regional grain watch company. We're in our 11th year, and we're having our biggest and best one yet, crushing every forecast we had set for ourselves. And every single thing that we're going to cover in the next 10 episodes is going to be a tactic or a strategy that I'm currently executing in order to find success, to find profitable growth in the difficult e-commerce landscape of 2024. During the next 10 episodes, I'll also be bringing on some expert guests to get a fresh perspective on everything that we've been working on this year. So this content's going to stay elite and engaging from start to finish. Throughout the series, we're also going to have a lot of material to share with you. We're going to share templates for forecasting. We're going to share, calendars with key dates surrounding this Q4. There's a lot to navigate. The election, Black Friday's later than usual. There's going to be a full calendar for you to be able to follow. A ton of other take-homes that you can work on with your marketing teams in order to make sure you are set up best for success this Q4. All right, let me give you a brief overview of the 10 episodes before I'll jump back into today's topic of understanding how difficult this Q4 can be. I don't think you can set out to solve a problem before you really understand what that problem is. So that's what today's episode is all about. And if you're anything like our brand and a lot of brands I've seen and worked with, you might be expecting to make 40 or 50 or even 60% of your annual revenue in the fourth quarter. And I hate to be the one to tell you this, and you might have figured it out by now, but we've been dealt a bad hand in 2024. The calendar, the economy, the political landscape, the volatility of Facebook ads are all stacked against us. But a wise man once told me, you could either make excuses or you can make money. And that's what we're going to try to do, and that's going to be the path I hope to set you on throughout this series. I don't need to explain how glitchy Facebook ads have been this year, how tough inflation has been, but today's episode, we're really going to hone in on the calendar and why it is set up to make us fail this fourth quarter, and I'm going to give you some strategies that you can counteract it with. But first, let me continue outlining each episode. Episode number 2, we're going to walk you through how to accurately evaluate and diagnose your brand's performance this year. In the third episode, I'll teach you how to create an accurate forecast for this Q4. And more importantly, I'll teach you how to stick to it and actually hit your goals. In episode 4, I'm going to teach you how to understand your brand's true value props. It's not often as simple as it sounds. Episode 5, we're going to learn what we used in episode 4, and we're going to create content surrounding those true value props. We're going to learn how to create content that actually converts. Episode 6, We're going to take what we learned in episodes 4 and 5, and we're going to learn how to test this content in true A/B split tests from your ad account to your website to your email flows and in every layer of your marketing funnel between now and Black Friday. On episode 7, I'm going to teach you how to go on this constant journey of finding and refinding and consistently dialing in price market fit so you can be maximizing the profit of your store every time someone comes and buys from you. On episode 8, we're going to learn how to create and test offers. In episode 9, we're going to learn how to apply really everything we learned up until that point in order to create a stable, reliable, and predictable advertising ecosystem. Lastly, in episode 10, I'm going to deliver the most important message of this entire content series. I'm going to discuss and hopefully teach you a thing or two about taking care of yourself this Q4, taking care of your mental health. And then I'm going to teach you about how to take care of your people and your team. Because if your people aren't being well taken care of, then they're not going to take good care of your business, and they're not going to take good care of your customers. So this episode is titled, Understanding How Hard This Q4 Will Be. Now, you might be thinking that last Q4 was hard, or that Q4 2022 was really difficult too, and you're probably right about that. But there are some specific challenges that we're facing that are unique to this year. The second half of this episode is going to teach you how to overcome some of these challenges, but I want to make sure we're all aligned on what the challenges are. I don't think you can effectively solve a problem without fully understanding it. So let's acknowledge a couple things right off the bat. First, this entire year has been difficult for a lot of e-com brands. E-com performance in quarters 1 through 3 is often very strongly correlated with Q4 performance. So if you're having a great year, then you should be feeling pretty good going into Q4. That might make it a little bit easier on you. It's still going to be hard. You shouldn't zone out just yet, but that might be a little bit easier for you. But if you're like the majority of e-com brands that might be flat year over year, or might be growing a little bit, but they're doing it at the expense of their bottom line, or if you've even decreased in size year over year, you need to be prepared for what the next few months are going to hold, because I believe you're in for even tougher challenges than we've faced so far this year. See, in my experience, and after pouring through the data, one thing has become crystal clear. The fourth quarter acts as an amplifier to the previous 9 months. It's a megaphone. Brands that are growing more than 50% year over year, like we are, should expect to continue to do that. Many expect to do even better than that as we enter the gift-giving season because of the compounding effects of scaling profitable acquisition all year. But the brands that have struggled for 3 quarters really need to prepare themselves for what's ahead, because historical data shows that the fourth quarter could even be harder and bloodier for you than the rest of the year has been, especially when we consider that so many e-com brands see 40 or 50 or even 60% of their annual revenue come in the fourth quarter. It is not a quarter that you want to get wrong. It's not something you want to take lightly. This is the time to make or break the year for you. There are a handful of things that make me fearful is the wrong word, but let's just say I'm right on the edge of fearful. Let's say I've got a healthy respect for the challenges that we're about to face. Number one, the calendar this year is stacked against us. The calendar this year sucks. I remember I looked at it a year ago on Cyber Monday. We had just hit all of our BFCM goals, and I was feeling good, and I said, all right, 365 days till the next one. What am I in for? And I looked at the calendar, and I was devastated. Black Friday's so late. It's so late. Cyber Monday's December 2nd. Cyber Monday's in December. Black Friday falls about a full week later than it did last year. Now, let me take a step back. Let's start at the beginning. The fourth quarter starts Tuesday, October 1st this year. You just have to address this for a couple of reasons, because to be honest, I don't even really consider October a part of Q4. I kind of consider it an extension of Q3. Let's call it Q3.8 or something. We don't really see buyer demand pick up until November, and October usually does outpace September, but it's not a huge month for us, and it's not a huge month for any store I know besides Spirit Halloween. October might be a huge month for them, but any store that's not selling Halloween costumes is probably not prepping for a massive October. Usually we spend our time in October just hammering out the final details and prepping content and stress testing our website to make sure that it's ready for the incoming tidal wave of buyer demand that November should hold. But this October is going to be especially difficult because we have a presidential election on November 5th. Every year since I've been in e-commerce, there's more and more and more and more political dollars being spent on the platforms that we rely on as the sole methods of gaining awareness and acquiring customers for our brands. I've seen it this year already. Our CPMs are up about 25% to last year, and I fully expect that trend to continue into Q4, where we already see increased CPMs this year with a massive election. I think it's going to get much, much worse. So prepare to start seeing elevated CPMs from now through the election. There's a chance we get a little bit of a break after it, but I wouldn't hold your breath for it. I think CPMs, especially on Facebook, are going to be really expensive this fourth quarter. Now, that's going to be October. It's prepping for November, and it's trying to survive increased CPMs as we get to the election. The election this year falls on Tuesday, November 5th. And that's an important date because you should expect people, Americans, to be distracted, stressed, scared. You should expect civil unrest, riots, and maybe another election where we don't know who won for a week. And I'm, to be honest, just praying that it doesn't get any worse than that, but it's going to get rough, right? I think marketing in times of crisis doesn't get really talked about because no one wants to think about it, but we live in a world where bad things happen sometimes. And we live in a country where the political discourse can get really aggressive at times, and people can get really consumed by it. No matter which side of the aisle you're on, there are fanatics that shut out their entire lives to focus on it. And a lot of those people could be our customers. So you need to be prepared for chaos in early November. I'll dig into that a little bit more later in this episode, but you should just be aware that first and second week of November could be a crazy time in our country. Moving through the month, we're going to look at where Thanksgiving and Black Friday fall. Last year, Thanksgiving and Black Friday fell on November 23rd and 24th. This year, they are the 28th and 29th. Last year, we had a full week from Black Friday until the start of December. This year, we have 2 days. Cyber Monday falls on December 2nd. What makes that so dangerous is that Black Friday is the kickoff of the American holiday shopping season. No matter how early we start messaging about gift giving and holidays, and I'll be the first to admit it, I'm one of those marketers that has always started his Black Friday sale on November 1st. And even though we do that, and we do see a slow ramp up starting on the 1st and until Thanksgiving, but it's nothing like the massive spike that comes on Black Friday itself. So I'll cover the rest of Q4 calendar quick, and then I'll come right back to what you should do about maximizing the period before Black Friday and BFCM. Like I mentioned, Cyber Monday falls on December 2nd, and then depending on shipping carriers, I just got ours back today. They're saying the cutoff for ground shipping is December 16th. And they're saying expedited shipping is the 18th. And that 2 days, the 19th. Last year, we got to sell until the 21st. So between Christmas falling in the middle of the week, that messes with the shipping cutoffs, and Black Friday landing so late, we have over a week less on the calendar. That's a scary realization that our holiday shopping season is 7 days less than it was last year. And for those of us that do 30 or 40 or 50% of our annual revenue in the days between Black Friday and Christmas, we need to make sure we have a plan to hit at least the goals we had last year. And if you're like us, you're aiming for big growth this year, you need to sell so much more product in such a shorter window. So here's a sneak peek at my promo calendar so you can see exactly how we're attempting to mitigate this and how I believe we'll come out on top in our fight against the calendar. Because Black Friday falls so late, we're going to do everything we possibly can to pull sales forward, especially from our existing customers. We want as many people to buy before Thanksgiving as possible for a couple of reasons. One, I've looked at the data for our store and I've looked at the data for a lot of stores. Customers that buy between November 1st and Thanksgiving have a lifetime value that's 30% higher than customers that buy on BFCM weekend. It's hard to remember when we're prepping for Q4 and prepping for Black Friday that this game we're playing doesn't end on Cyber Monday. It doesn't even end on December 31st. This game, as long as you're not planning an exit in the next 30 days, never ends. And next year we have to do this all over again. So we don't want to let short-term thinking and short-term tactics dominate what we're going to do this Q4. You want to be playing the long game, and you want to make sure that you are acquiring high-value customers. You don't just want someone that's going to buy on a 30% discount for Black Friday and never come back. That doesn't do you a whole lot of good if your goal is to build a long-lasting, respected, healthy, profitable e-commerce brand. So with all that in mind, we are going to scale up our ad spend early. We're going to launch our sale early, and we're going to acquire as many high-value customers as we possibly can. We're going to focus our ad dollars selling products that we know produce our highest repeat purchase rate and our highest profit over a 12-month customer journey. That's my entire e-commerce strategy distilled down into 10 words. Acquire as many high-value customers as you can afford. That's it. That's the game. For us and the brands that I have access to the data of, that means acquiring as many customers as we can between November 1st and Thanksgiving, because history shows that LTV is much, much higher. So with all that in mind, on November 1st, I am launching, drumroll please, our Better Than Black Friday sale. Not the most creative idea I've ever had, but I think it's one that is going to work and it's going to make us a lot of money. The Better Than Black Friday sale. It'll be plastered all over our entire marketing funnel, from our ads to our entire website, our email campaigns and flows, our direct mail sends, our SMS flows. And let me pause right here. If you're taking notes, I appreciate that. One note that you should write, big and bold, is go through every one of your flows on Klaviyo and PostScript or wherever you host your email and SMS platforms. Go through every single one. Even if you don't want to launch your sale early like I am, you can still change the messaging in there to reflect, gifting behavior. That should be something that you or a marketing manager or a retention lead takes on, because your flows are where you can make a ton of money this Q4. So please go through each one of them. You don't want to get to December and realize that there's an offer that's out of date. There's a link that doesn't work. There's a code that's not relevant anymore. There's a product that's sold out. I've been there. It sucks. So please make sure you're going through all of your flows before we get to Q4. Now back to the action. Sorry, it's episode 1. I'm going off script already. But check your flows, people. It's going to make a big difference. Now, let's get back to my Better Than Black Friday sale. Here's the important thing to note. This deal that we're going to run is actually better than our Black Friday deal. We'll be offering prices just as low as you can get them on Black Friday, but we're going to increase our free gifts with purchase. We're going to be giving away a free gift card with every watch purchase. Now, this is an offer that we ran for Father's Day this year. It's an offer we ran a couple times last year. And it goes back to what I mentioned before about letting long-term thinking and long-term strategy and long-term profit drive behavior, even in a short-term buying season like Q4. When we give away a free $50 gift card when you purchase a watch from us, that customer cohort becomes 2 times more likely to come back and buy from us again than any other customer cohort we can acquire. So our better than Black Friday sale, our prices are going to be slashed up to $100 off. And when you buy a watch, we're going to give you a free gift card that you can come back and use on your next watch purchase. This holiday season isn't just about hitting your Q4 goals. It's about using this holiday shopping season to build a long-lasting, healthy, profitable brand. So you cannot let short-term thinking and short-term tactics dominate your strategy. Because we don't make a habit of running hacky marketing campaigns, we don't tell people a sale is going to end and then the next morning tell them that the sale got extended. We don't tell people that they're getting the best price and then we lower it a week later. Because we don't rely on any of these hacks, we've built up trust with our customer base. So when I tell all my customers on November 1st that this deal is truly better than Black Friday, they're going to believe us and they're going to buy from us. Launching this promotion early isn't just a tool to use existing customers to get back to our website and buy. This is also going to increase new visitor conversion rate and revenue per session of our website. Increasing those metrics, making acquisition more efficient, means we're going to be able to increase ad spend early and often throughout the month. A lot of people wait until Black Friday or maybe the week of Thanksgiving to really scale their ad spend. But there's a very, very strong correlation, as I've poured through this data, between the amount of money you spend on ads, definitely in the 7, but really in the 14 days before Black Friday, correlates almost linearly with the amount of money you're going to make during Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. So the entire game for us, for the first chunk of November, in this case, the first 28 days of November, we are trying to get as many relevant, qualified eyeballs looking at our content on our ad channels and as many qualified and intentional shoppers getting to our website. The goal here is to capture so much more attention before people have full intention on what they're going to buy. Most people days before Thanksgiving already know what they're going to buy on Friday. They've been shopping all year in some cases. They've been saving up. They've asked their partner, their husband, their wife, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their mom, their dad, their son, their daughter. They've asked them, what do you want for Christmas? And they've already made the decision before you send a single email campaign on Black Friday. So it is hyper important to try to scale ad spend early. We allow ourselves to spend at a worse efficiency, at a worse blended ROAS, or at a worse MER than we know we want to see at the end of the month or at the end of the year. Because we know that people need to think about these purchases. People need to decide what they want to buy and talk to the person they're buying a gift for, and they need to come up with ideas, and they might have to save up for it. So we like to get as much awareness as possible, as much as we can possibly afford, so that when Black Friday comes and they see another ad from us, or they get an email from us, or they get a text from us, or they get a postcard in the mail from us, they've already made the decision to buy. That's how you maximize BFCM, and that's how you do it in a year where you don't have a lot of time after that to sell product. Now, let's talk about the end of the holiday sale period. Let's talk about how November and December might stack up to each other this year. For most brands I've worked at, December always slightly outpaces November in revenue. Again, that's because most brands spend a lot more money on ads. They don't scale them up as early in November as I might think you should, and that's okay. The point I'm trying to make here is because 2 days of BFCM weekend fall into December, that this year December is going to be that much more revenue than November than you might be expecting. So if November and December revenue adds up to, I don't know, 5 million, and in years past you might have expected it to be 2 million in November and 3 million in December, you might want to plan on tipping the scale more towards December this year, because there's just more time of the holiday shopping season because of how late Black Friday falls. Now, getting to the end of the sale period, when those shipping cutoffs are approaching, this is also where building trust with your audience needs to be priority. If you've got a timer on your site that runs out at midnight every night of the holiday shopping season, they're not going to know when it's really the last day to buy, and they might not trust you. So you need to be clear and honest and stick to the messages that you send your customers this Q4. If Monday the 16th really is the last day you can offer ground shipping, then you need to tell them that. And then the next day you need to tell them that they have to upgrade to expedited shipping if they want it in time. And then a few days later, when you call last call for that, you have to tell them that they need to upgrade to 2-day if they want to get it in time. Don't get cute with these messages. Being clear is a lot more important than being clever here. And those days at the end of the sale period can be some of the highest revenue days of the year. So missing out on one day could be missing out on a huge percentage of your monthly sales, of your annual sales. So as we get to the end of that, plaster it all over your website. Every email and text campaign should let them know when the deadline is. We're not scaring people. We just need to overly communicate to them so they make sure that they can get an awesome gift in time for the holidays. Now, I'm going to move on from the calendar shortly, but that is the meat and potatoes of this episode. Whether or not you like my idea of starting the sale on the 1st and calling it the Better of Black Friday sale, that's fine. But what I hope you learned is that the days on the calendar this year are not stacked in our favor. They're stacked against us. And you need to come up with a plan to benefit from that in the long term. You need to come up with a plan to springboard off this Q4 into a healthier and bigger, more profitable 2025. And you're going to do that based on the amount of customers you can acquire over the next 60 days. So please loop your marketing team in. Send them this clip. Let them know that they need to be thinking strategically about their promo calendar from November 1st until December 19th, more than they ever have in the past. All right. The calendar, believe it or not, was just one thing that I'm concerned about this Q4. There's a few more. Let's talk about inflation. Let's talk about the current economic climate in America. Let's talk about the fact that consumer credit card debt's at an all-time high. Defaults on car loans are at an all-time high. Businesses are going under. People are drowning in debt and bankruptcies, and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. Even though the inflation rate might technically be going down, that doesn't mean stuff's getting more affordable. It just means it's getting more expensive a little bit slower. A lot of us in e-commerce, especially those of us who have found success in this game, haven't had to stress about some of these problems in a long time, and we should count ourselves blessed for that. But there's millions of Americans, many millions of Americans that are worried about paying rent next month, and that are worried about the price of groceries, and that are worried about if they can buy their kids new clothes for school because their current ones have holes in them, and they're not even thinking about Christmas gifts yet. The average American household income, the last time I checked, was about $65,000 a year. And I'm not trying to flex on anyone too hard, but I'm blessed enough that we make more than that. And even though we make more than that, I've stressed about money at times in the last few years. So we really need to understand. It's going to come up again when we talk about creating content that converts in later episodes. It's going to come up again when we talk about creating offers, especially. We need to understand where the majority of Americans are at right now. And where they're at is an uncomfortable financial situation. And if you're like me and there's been times in your life where you've been very stressed and worried about money and flat out broke, then you should know how all-consuming that can be. And how the last thing anyone might be thinking about is how to give a thoughtful gift for Christmas. But our marketing has to appeal to that. And I'm not saying we should be taking advantage of anyone or exploiting them. We need to meet them where they're at. We need to create an offer for a product that's going to improve their life, maybe take some stress off them. We need to create an experience that they can give to someone that shows how much they care, even though the dollar amount of the price tag might not be that high. So please do not underestimate how hard it is financially out there for a lot of Americans right now. And that's something that I think makes this year in particular for e-com and this Q4 what's going to be really hard. It's just a lot of real people are struggling with real problems. Now, speaking of groceries and gas prices being insane, do you know what else is insane? Politics in our country. I touched on it earlier, and I don't think I really need to go into detail, but we've had a president drop out of the election. We've had a presidential candidate get shot. We last election had protests and riots and a whole bunch of stuff going on. We had that 2 elections ago too. When Americans are struggling financially and there's intense, aggressive political discourse going on in the country, it leads to a lot of bad stuff. It leads to civil unrest and riots and stock market volatility and stress and distractions and worry. So just be aware of that. We're going to talk about this again in that episode about how to create content and messaging that can actually convert people, because so much of our success in this game is predicated on our ability, more specifically, our content's ability to reach people where they're at and to speak to an emotion that they're really feeling. So when I try to sell something silly like a watch, or when you try to sell whatever you're selling, it'd be so dumb for me to tell you that it's made of wood and that's why it's cool. Right? The person that's struggling to pay their groceries, struggling to pay rent, and stressed about the future of our country, if we're going to make it as a union, a person doesn't care that my watch is inlaid with whiskey barrels. But when I tell that person that this watch isn't just made from whiskey barrels, it's a way to show the man in their life that he's worth it. It's a way to show their man he's worth every second by getting him a gift as unique and as classic and as storied as he is. See, all of a sudden, I'm not selling features. I'm speaking to this core emotion that, in our case, most commonly, the wife wants to feel about her husband. She wants to feel like she can take care of him and that she can be a nurturer to him, because he's going through all the same stresses that she is, that all of us are this year. So she wants to get him a token of appreciation. So please don't let episode 1 be the last one you tune into. Even if you didn't love this one, that's all right. I've got guests coming on who are smarter than me. I promise I'm not going to talk this whole time. But come back, because there's going to be key things in each episode we talk about that are going to drastically increase the efficiency and the performance of your entire company if you execute them well. The next 9 episodes that are going to cover the next 9 tactics that you should master before Q4, I truly believe, and Triple Whale truly believes, can help so many businesses add dollars to their bottom line. So thank you so much for listening to episode 1. Make sure you download the calendar that we're going to include in this episode about understanding how difficult this Q4 is going to be. Now that we have a solid understanding of the problem, we are more than ready to overcome them and to beat them and to ultimately hit all the goals we have for the fourth quarter. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.